She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. All right. Well, let's get started with a few songs, okay? And Mrs. Smith is ready to go. Let me see if the song that's on my mind is in our songbook here. Seven 717. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart. Lord, I want to be more holy in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more holy in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more holy in my heart. Lord, I want to be like Jesus in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be like Jesus in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be like Jesus in my heart. All right, okay. Any requests for songs? A favorite. It won't take me long to find one of my favorites. Yes? 861. Set my soul afire, Lord, for thy holy word. Burn it deep within me, let your voice be heard. Millions grope in darkness in this day and hour. I will be your witness, fill me with thy power. Set my soul afire, Lord, set my soul afire. Make my life a witness of thy saving power. Millions grope in darkness, waiting for thy word. Set my soul afire, Lord, set my soul verse, verse 3. Set my soul afire, Lord, in my daily life. For too long I've wandered in this day of strife. Nothing else will matter but to live for thee. I will be your witness as you live in me. Set my soul afire, Lord, set my soul afire. Make my life a witness of thy saving power. Millions grope in darkness, they're waiting for thy word. Set my soul afire, Lord, set my soul afire. Good, 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 good. Anybody else have a favorite? All right, okay. All right, yes. 858. 858. Is that the one you wanted? Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, redeemed through his infinite mercy, his child, and forever I am. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, redeemed. Love to proclaim it, his child, and forever I am. Redeemed and so happy in Jesus, no language my rapture can tell. I know that the light of his presence with me doth continually dwell. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, redeemed, how I love to proclaim it, his child, and forever I am. I think of my blessed Redeemer, I think of him all the day long. I sing, for I cannot be silent, his love is the theme of my song. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, redeemed, how I love to proclaim it, his child, and forever I am. Okay, Karen. 624. When upon life's billows you are tempest-tossed, when you are discouraged thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. Are you ever burdened with the load of care? Does the cross seem heavy you are called to bear? Count your many blessings, every doubt will fly, and you will be singing as the days go by. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. When you look at others with their lands and gold, think that Christ has promised you his wealth untold. Count your many blessings, money cannot buy your reward in heaven or your home on high. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. So amid the conflict, whether great or small, do not be discouraged, God is over all. Count your many blessings, angels will attend, help and comfort give you to your journey's end. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. All right. One more song. Anybody got one more song? A favorite, just if you really like it. Okay, let's do 507. 507. Would you live for Jesus and be always pure and good? Would you walk with him within the narrow road? Would you have him bear your burden, carry all your load? Let him have his way with thee. His power can make you what you ought to be. His blood can cleanse your heart and make you free. His love can fill your soul and you will see 'twas best for him to have his way with thee. Would you have him make you free and follow at his call? Would you know the peace that comes by giving all? Would you have him save you so that you need never fall? Let him have his way with thee. His power can make you what you ought to be. His blood can cleanse your heart and make you free. His love can fill your soul and you will see 'twas best for him to have his way with thee. Would you in his kingdom find a place of constant rest? Would you prove him true in providential test? Would you in his service labor always at your best? Let him have his way with thee. His power can make you what you ought to be. His blood can cleanse your heart and make you free. His love can fill your soul and you will see 'twas best for him to have his way with thee. Okay, great. Any other songs that you're just dying to sing? Okay, all right. 825. 825. to the first verse and the last verse. God never moves without purpose or plan. When trying a servant and molding a man, give thanks to the Lord, though your testing seems long. In darkness he giveth a song. Oh, rejoice in the Lord, he makes no mistake. He knoweth the end of each path that I take. For when I am tried and purified, I shall come forth as gold. Now I can see testing comes from above. God strengthens his children and purges in love. My Father knows best, and I trust in his care. Through purging more fruit I will bear. Oh, rejoice in the Lord, he makes no mistake. He knoweth the end of each path that I take. For when I am tried and purified, I shall come forth as gold. All right, great singing, great playing tonight. Thank you. Let's get our Bibles out. Let's go again over to 1 Samuel, and chapter 23 is where we left off last time. 1 Samuel chapter 23. Tonight, I have a correction to make. It's a small correction, but I said something that wasn't correct, and somebody that knows their Bible, somebody that was listening, they pointed out to me. And so we're gonna correct that, okay? Now I'm going to read you a passage over here in 2 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 7. And what I had said was I was trying to say that Saul, had some good things, and he did. He had some good things going on in his life, and I think the humility at the beginning was very good. Following the Spirit there, right? He didn't think highly of himself. He was trusting the Lord, and that was great. And then also, I think Jonathan speaks to his father I know it's a secondary, positive note about him. It may be just an indirect compliment to Saul and his parenting. But also I said that Saul had one wife. And that was kind of a rare thing when you see men who have just the supreme power, right? They're king and they can do whatever they want. And I said that Saul had one wife. But let me read 2 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 7 says this. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And so there it is in Scripture. Saul had a concubine also, which, kind of, is a little disappointing. David has the same problem here, multiple wives, and a lot of these men do. And so anyway, just needed to make sure that we got that correction out of the way, okay? We want to say things that are correct. We want to say things that the Bible says. Now, in 1 Samuel chapter 23, we are reading about David running from Saul. Saul is the king of Israel, and he is not usurping anything as king. Now, he may be doing some things God doesn't want him to to do, but he is king. And at this time, David has been anointed as the next king of Israel, but Saul is still the king. And if you've been following along, David has done some things just very honorably and has just grown in influence and has just shown himself to walk carefully and with some wisdom in his life. And as he has been interacting with other people, he's been growing in. And there was this song about Saul and his thousands, David and his 10,000s, and then now there's the men in the army seem to be enjoying being under David, and then he's getting some comments here and there from even some of his close servants, and then even his family, and so Saul's feeling really bad. He goes after David, and David just has to run and hide and secretly dodge Saul. And we saw last time that Saul was, he's confused, he's running, fear and envy and all these things, they don't really help you think logically, and especially following the Spirit. We're picking up now in 1 Samuel 23, and the next episode in this epic story does not disappoint. We just read about David going up and delivering this town, Keilah, and then the town really being willing to turn David right over to Saul. But God helps David, and he just receives the help and gets out of there before it's too late. And let's pick up now in verse 14. It says this, "And David abode in the wilderness in strongholds, and remained in the mountain of the wilderness of Ziph, and Saul sought him every day." Saul sought David every day. This is not a side hobby. This is, when you do something every day, that is something that is purposeful. That's something that is monopolizing your mind here. Saul is seeking David every day. What's going on in the rest of the rest of the kingdom? Well, this is the top of my priority list here. But it says in verse 14 that God delivered him not into his hand. It says in verse 15 that David saw that Saul was come out to seek his life, and David was in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. So God's helping David, and David's being sensitive to God's voice. It says that even though Saul was seeking David every day, that it wasn't David's cunning, it wasn't his athleticism or his health or anything about David besides his sensitivity to God, because it says here that God delivered him not into his hand. So David is in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. Now Ziph is south of where Saul is in Gibeah. Gibeah is north of Jerusalem, but Ziph is south of Jerusalem. But at this time, what was Jerusalem? It was just one of the towns in Israel. It was full of people called Jebusites. They weren't doing really anything notable. It was just Jerusalem. It is when David becomes king that Jerusalem really becomes a place that God changes. And Bethlehem, the same thing. Bethlehem's just this small little town. David's Bethlehem's not that important yet. Okay, so seeking him, he's in Ziph. He's south of Jerusalem, south of Gibeah, where Saul was. Now, here's an interesting thing about Ziph. Ziph is close to the western edge of the sea, the Dead Sea. Okay, western edge. So let's do the map here. You've got the Dead Sea, right?
On the other side of the Dead Sea, other countries inhabit that, right? In fact, to the southeast of the Dead Sea, that's where Moab is. And then just a little west of the Dead Sea, that's where the wilderness of Ziph is. That's where David is. And so you can see David had taken his parents, right? David had just taken his parents a couple of chapters ago to Moab, and then he's over in Ziph. Okay, so here's what happens. Verse 16, Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David in the wood and strengthened his hand in God. I like this. Jonathan is a good friend. And here's what I mean by a good friend. He's a friend that turns your eyes toward God. That's a good friend. You need friends like that. I don't know what's going on in your life, but you need friends like that. And if there's a king of a country that is hunting you and wants you dead, then this is the kind of friend that you need. Or, maybe your trials aren't quite to that extent, but good friends are going to encourage you in the Lord. Good friends are going to encourage you in the Lord. And praise God, if you have a friend or two that encourage you in the Lord and can speak to you and really know you and know your trials and know what's going on, and they can help you turn your eyes to the Lord, that is very valuable. That's what Jonathan, Saul's son, did for David. It says he strengthened his hand in God. He didn't just strengthen his hand. That's one thing. That's like equipping somebody. That's like, trying to, cheer them on and all that. That's fine. That's good. There's a time for that. But here he strengthened his hand in God. He helps David look to God. It says in verse 17, and he said unto him, fear not, for the hand of Saul, my father, shall not find thee. Now, Jonathan didn't know all of these things, and so he's trying to give him a vision, trying to kind of help him. Now, Jonathan did know one thing, that God had chosen to anoint David the next king of Israel. And with that knowledge, he kind of assumes a few other things, but he gets that part right. He said unto him, fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, and that also Saul my father knoweth. Okay. Spoiler alert. Plug your ears if you haven't read this yet. Saul and Jonathan don't get to live to see David on his throne. So that part's not true. Jonathan doesn't know that he's going to be next to him, right? But the thing is, even though he added that part, it's a justified presumption, because he's saying, you know what? So there's something that me and my dad know. It's that you're going to be the next king, right? And Jonathan assumed, and it would have been true if Jonathan had lived, right, that I'll be next to you on that throne. I'm not going to be in competition with you, which is really what David was saying. Hey, let me encourage you. God has a plan for your life, and I, as your friend, am going to encourage God's plans in your life. I'm not going to be a competition. I'm not going to be somebody that hassles you. I'm not going to be somebody that discourages you. I'm not going to be somebody standing on the side going, wait a minute, you don't deserve to be, the next king. That's my rightful place. I'm not going to be somebody that says, are you sure that's right? No, I'm going to be next to you, and you're going to be there. So that was good. Jonathan was a good friend. It says in verse 18, and they two made a covenant before God, and David abode in the wood, and Jonathan went to his house. So that's good, Have fun camping. I'm going to go back home. Yeah. Anyway, that's good. That's good. Things with David and Jonathan were right. Okay. Verse 19. Then came up the Ziphites. Remember that David and his men are in the wilderness of Ziph. Here comes the Ziphites. Now here's the thing. The Ziphites, they lived in Judah, and they were descendants of Judah. Guess who else was a descendant of Judah? David was. These are David's kin. And for some reason, I don't know. I was about to say the Bible doesn't say. I don't think the Bible says. I haven't noticed where the Bible says. But the Ziphites are for some reason, I don't know. I don't know why. But they come to Saul. Here it says, then came the Ziphites to Saul and Gibeah, saying, doth not David hide himself with us in strongholds in the woods, in the hill of Hachilah, which is on the south of Jeshimon? Oh, just what Saul wanted to hear. Ha ha ha. He is he? Verse 20. Now therefore, O king, come down according to all the desire of thy soul to come down. Yeah. Bring it, Saul. Bring it. Come down according to all the desire of thy soul to come down. And our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hand. We're going to help you out. O king, live forever. This is your lucky day. Me and my buddies here, we're Ziphites, and we think we have something that you want. Our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hand. And Saul said, blessed be ye of the Lord, for ye have compassion on me. Ha! Finally, somebody is throwing me a bone. Finally. It's been a while. Okay, yes, I like you guys. This is great. Blessed be ye of the Lord. This is great. Okay, I really appreciate it. Yep, I'm coming. Verse 22, go, I pray you, prepare yet, and know, and see his place, where his haunt is, and who hath seen him there, for it is told me that he dealeth very subtly. Now, David was walking with the Lord, and I'd like to guarantee you that if you're walking with the Lord, then nobody will bother you, that nobody will be after you and want to see you, want to see harm come to you and all those things. But we know that the scripture tells us, yea, and all that will live godly shall suffer persecution. This is going to come. In fact, with the guarantee, there is a guarantee, and it's basically the opposite, that you're going to face some things that you may not enjoy facing if you are going to walk with the Lord. And certainly David did. He dealeth very subtly. See therefore, in verse 23, and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hideth himself, and come ye again to me with the certainty, and I will go with you. And it shall come to pass, if he be in the land, that I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. Wow, I'm committed. I'm committed. Boy, he really makes David sound like some kind of criminal, doesn't he? Look for all the lurking places where he might be. And they arose and went to Ziph before Saul, but David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain on the south of Jeshimon. So they had slipped a little farther south. Verse 25. Now, did I tell you that in this passage we're about to get to, Saul and his army, they basically capture David? Did you know that part of the story? Did you know that they get to a point where they're surrounding David and his men. It's all over. It's all over. Did you know that? Have you read this recently? It's all over. Or is it? Yeah, this is great. This is such a great story. Saul and his men went to seek him. In verse 25, they told David, wherefore he came down into a rock and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon. I'm getting closer. I'm going to come get you. And Saul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. So if you had a drone shot from the top, you would see Saul and his men hungrily, happily pursuing, and they're pushing David. David is fleeing around to the other side of the mountain, but there's nowhere to go. And David made haste to get away for fear of Saul, and Saul and his men compassed David. You know what that means? That means they surrounded him. They enveloped him. This is it. This is it. David, they compassed David and his men round about to take them. Dun, 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 right? Commercial break. Join us next time as we see the thrilling conclusion of this episode. No, that would be how are they going to escape? Verse 27. But there came a messenger to Saul, saying, haste thee and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. But we're so close to getting... Okay, all right, guys, let's go. The Philistines are invading. We had better go take care of that. Verse 28, wherefore Saul returned from pursuing after David and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Selah Hamalekath. Selah Hamalekath. I looked it up. You know what they were calling this place? The Cliffs of Escape. Oh, yeah, wow. Sounds like one of those junior high novels. It's great. It's thrilling, isn't it? They named this place. Oh, do you remember that mountain? Remember that hill in Maon? Yeah. Do you remember Selah Hamalekath? Oh, yeah. I was there. Oh. I mean, I must have said 3 times we're goners. And we made it out. Whew, God was good to David. Verse 29, and David went up from thence and dwelt in strongholds at En-gedi. Okay, En-gedi is a lot easier to hide in. En-gedi is a rocky place with caves and all kinds of good hiding places. Okay, now let's turn over to Psalm 54. Psalm 54. Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O God. Give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them. Maybe these are the Ziphites he's talking about. Maybe these are Saul's army encompassing around him. Behold, God is mine helper. The Lord is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice to thee. I will praise thy name, O Lord, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen his desire upon mine enemies. God, you're in control, and I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to praise you, and I'm just going to watch you take care of this situation. Okay, back to 1 Samuel and chapter 23. Actually, transitioning now into chapter 24. It says here, "And it came to pass when Saul was returning from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi." Oh, really? Let's go stomp him. Let's go. Then Saul took 3,000 men. Whew. You know how many men is 3,000 men? You're going to disturb the lives of 3,000 men. 3,000 men to go get what in their mind was a servant that Saul doesn't like anymore. Like son-in-law. Like Saul really doesn't like David. Okay, well, anyway, we're getting paid. We're getting paid. Let's go. I don't know if they're getting paid or not, I assume. 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. I like that. That's great. Let's go seek David and his men among the rocks of the wild goats. Oh, we're going to En-gedi. Great. 3,000 men. Wow. Now, this is amazing. He came to the sheepcotes by the way. There was a cave. Saul went in to cover his feet. Now, here's the thing. Cover his feet. Nobody knows what this means. Everywhere you read, you basically come down to two options. They don't really matter, okay? It doesn't really, it makes no difference to the narrative whether Saul was going in to take a nap or whether Saul was going in to relieve himself. It doesn't really matter. Either Saul's unconscious or he has thrown his jacket, coat, robe to the side. We don't know. But it doesn't make any consequence to the narrative. So let's not spend too long arguing about needless things here. If you wanna argue your way, argue your point on that one, find somebody else after service and talk to them. Anyway, Saul went in to cover his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave, the very cave that Saul decided to go in. Hey guys, you're doing a great job. I'm sure we're going to find David here soon. See that cave? Yeah, I'll be in there for just a little bit. Okay, no problem. And the men said unto him. Now, this is great. This is a great story, but let's go over to Psalm 142. David is hiding in the cave. And I don't know if this is precisely when he's in the cave in En-gedi, but it seems to fit pretty well in Psalm 142, It says, I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. I poured out my complaint before him. I showed before him my trouble. This is excellent, by the way. You're allowed, did you know this? You're allowed to complain to the Lord. You're not allowed to blame the Lord, but you're allowed to complain to him. If you're upset about something, you can complain to him. And I have even better news. He cares. He cares about you. Let me tell you something. There's probably several people in this world that care about you and would listen to your complaints with with concern, okay? There may be a time in your life that there is actually nobody that would care on this earth. But God will always care. And you can talk to him. Okay, that's what David does. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. In the way wherein I walked, have they privily laid a snare for me. I looked on my right hand, and beheld, but there was no man that would know me. Refuge failed me. No man cared for my soul. I cried unto thee, O Lord. I said, thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise thy name. The righteous shall compass me about, for they shall deal bountifully with me. Anyway, David was trusting the Lord through some pretty hard things. Let's look back at what happens here in the cave. 1 Samuel 24, and now verse 4. The men of David said unto him, behold, the day which the Lord said unto thee, and I can see, the men are, probably tired, probably, this is, how long is this gonna go? Maybe there's rumors and talk, around like, boy, if we have the chance, maybe we could just get Saul and this would just be over with. Wouldn't that be great? David is anointed the next king of Israel. Wouldn't that be great? Well, yeah, if the Lord lets us, but, and how is this ever going to change? Are we just going to run forever? This is just, I don't see an end in sight. Now, Saul literally walks past them in a cave. They're on the edge of the cave, holding their breath. After he's passed, then like giddy with anticipation in my mind as I'm viewing this narrative. Oh, it's time. Oh, yeah, David, behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, that thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. Wait a minute. Did God tell that to David? I don't remember reading that. If you can find that, that's great. Let me know. But this was their plan. They liked the idea of Saul being delivered into David's hand. They liked the idea of David doing what he thinks is best in this situation. What would anybody do in this situation? They liked that idea. But was that God's plan? David sure has a tender heart. It says, David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privily. So in secret, without being caught here, cuts a little piece of his robe off. Or a big piece, it's hard to tell. Look what it says in verse 5. And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him because he had cut off Saul's skirt. That word smote means wounded. David was hurt. Oh. Verse 6, and he said unto his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth mine hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord. He goes back and he hinders the men. It says in verse 7, so David stayed his servants with these words and suffered them not to rise against Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. David's heart smote him because he cut the skirt off. He didn't do any harm to Saul. He cut the skirt off. His heart smote him, and he hindered his men. He stayed them. He restrained them. We're not going to do this. We're not going to kill him. We're not going to. He's the Lord's anointed. In other words, this is like just the ultimate of acknowledging the Lord. If the Lord wants to do something to Saul, he has not given me the green light to do it. And I don't know what's going on between Saul and the Lord. I don't know why he showed up with 3,000 men. And I don't know what God is going to do. But I certainly am not going to go against my wounded conscience and kill him like everybody is advising me to. Wow. And by the way, remember back when Saul was hiding and God revealed? Saul had been anointed, right? And yet he was hiding. God revealed the location of the next anointed king of Israel. God can do that. And God can reveal the location of the next anointed king of Israel. But God was on David's side, not on Saul's side. And Saul didn't find David there. David found Saul. It says in verse 8, so David arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul. This is shocking to me. This is shocking to me. He walks out behind Saul, holding the piece of his robe that he had cut off, and yells to him, you're really trusting the Lord. You were really like, God gave you something that you internalized and knew was right, and you just went full throttle, all in, face first, pedal all the way down, let's go, walked out of the cave behind him. In the middle of verse 8, cried after Saul, saying, my lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. You know what this is? This is David putting his head on the chopping block. He just revealed his location to the king who wants him dead. And David said to Saul, wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, behold, David seeketh thy hurt? Have men been telling you that? Why are you listening to that kind of counsel? They're slandering me. Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how that the Lord hath delivered thee today into mine hand in the cave, and some bade me kill thee, but mine eye spared thee. And I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not. Know thou, and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in mine hand. I have not sinned against thee. Yet thou huntest for my soul to take it. The Lord judge between me and thee. I love this. This is such a great verse. Take this verse and put it in your memorization program. The Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. Wow. I could have taken it all into my hands and this would have been over. I would have been coming out here telling the captain of your army to come pick up your body and then come to me and report for duty. This wouldn't have been your robe in my hand. I would have been holding your head like Goliath. But I'm not going to stretch my hand upon you. As saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, but my hand shall not be upon thee. After whom is the king of Israel come out? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog, after a flea. The Lord therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. And it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words to Saul, that Saul said, is this thy voice, my son David? Wow, that's a strange thing. Saul is answering softly. Is this thy voice, my son David? Remember when Saul hates David? What does he call him? Not even by his first name. Son of Jesse. Son of nobody. Some little twerp that we had to call out of the field. The only thing he had to offer was watching animals. Son of Jesse. Now what does he say? Is this thy voice, my son, David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. The Lord touched his heart here. You can tell. He said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. As Saul is confronted with an obvious fact that he was wrong and that David was harmless. And thou hast showed this day how that thou hast dealt well with me. For as much as when the Lord hath delivered me into thy hand, thou killest me not. Not only is the Lord not turning you over to me, he's hiding you. And he turned me over to you, and he still didn't kill me. Verse 19, For if a man find his enemy, will he let him go well away? Therefore the Lord reward thee good, for that thou hast done unto me this day. In other words, I'm grateful to you, David. I hope the Lord blesses you. And now, behold, I know well that thou surely shalt be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Swear now, therefore, unto me by the Lord, that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, and that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David sware unto Saul, and Saul went home, but David and his men gat them up into the hold. Interesting. David didn't say, okay, well, that's it. Let's all go home. He said, guys, maybe we should hang out. Maybe we should stay out here, arm's reach a little bit longer. I've seen Saul humbled before, and I'm not sure how long it's going to last. But that was amazing that David did that. When you read in the Psalms about David being delivered, and that God showed him mercy, and when you see in the Bible that it says, with the merciful, thou wilt show thyself merciful, right? And if you're going to be kind, if you're going to be pure, he's going to show himself pure and kind. If you're going to be froward, he's going to show himself froward to you. So this was really David being kind, but the Lord also being very merciful to David. Okay, great. We'll pick up there next time at the chapter break in front of chapter 25, where the epic saga continues. David and Saul. Okay, we have some prayer sheets here. Brother Daly has them. Anything else that we can put on the prayer sheets? Natalie had surgery today, and I haven't heard how it went, but I'm not sure. I'll see it here in a second. She's on there. Okay, so pray for Natalie. Hopefully, I don't think she'll be playing any sports or anything like that. I think, but thank you. Okay, great. Knee replacement. Nope, I haven't had any word on Pam. Now, let's, don't see it on here. And maybe I'll hesitate because I'm not sure if that information is supposed to go out. I heard that Diane Lutz, who comes from the nursing home with our van ministry, the handicap van, she comes in and sits, and she's been out for the last month, and I heard she had a stroke and passed away yesterday. So Diane, so pray for her family, and she was a ray of sunshine when she came in here, and so that was yeah. Now she hadn't had a stroke until yesterday, but she was getting so that she couldn't control how she was swaying and rocking, and so without the proper restraints, they were concerned that we wouldn't be able to just keep her in a chair. But so that's why we haven't seen her in a month or so. Yeah. So pray for her family. And Tori, who sits right over here, she was just telling me on Sunday, she just listed off like 6 of her friends that had died recently, that had passed away. And, and so then that's sad that she'll add Diane to that list. So, okay. Anybody else that we need to make sure we put on here? No? Okay, let's spend some time together in prayer.